Hello there, and thank you for tuning into this screencast. I'm Rex Proctor. We are really excited about this screencast because it introduces Build 510. And in Build 510, the key feature and long-awaited feature is archiving. Archiving allows you to take selected clips from one timeline, export them into another timeline that we're calling an archive timeline. So you can build up an archive of clips over a period of time from loads of different timelines. Let's have a look at how this works. And I'm going to introduce a few other wrinkles that we've added in Build 510 along the way. The first thing you'll notice is in the main window toolbar, we've removed the Super Tab menu and taken those items and laid them out directly in the toolbar, making it a little bit easier to navigate things, saving you one less click. So let's create a new movie and timeline. Archives are just a movie collection and a timeline. They're nothing different than a timeline and collection that you might have marked up or captured. So let's name our collection here. We're going to call this archive, and then I'm going to link my timeline to the archive. The reason I do that is it's handy because it names the timeline for me, so it saves me from clicking in the timeline and then giving it a name. So that's kind of a clever convenience. Now I'm going to double click on some of the files that I'm working with. If I double click on that, remember that it has memory. So it will remember what I had open last time. So I was doing this screencast and I had that open previously, and I'm redoing the screencast. So we'll close these files that we no longer need. And now I've got 3 different timeline and collections open. And what I want to do is I want to take clips from this match here in round 7 and export those into my collection or into my archive. So I'm going to take this first clip here and I'm going to select it, and then I drag from the archive icon in the timeline to the archive timeline in the files list. So I'm going to drag and drop, and you'll see that that timeline will blink and then there'll be a little progress bar. So now if we look at that timeline, all of that clip and angle information was exported. So let's do a quick arrangement here. Deselect that clip and set that up so it looks like this. And look at that. We've taken all of the angles from that timeline in that clip and exported those into this timeline. Now let's go back. Let's take the next clip and let's add that. So I just select the next clip and drag and drop that onto that timeline. And that will get appended into the timeline. So very, very handy. Now I want you to note here that we have 1, 2, and 4 for our angle numbers. These little icons now are clickable. So if you click on the little 4, it will flick in that or flick out that. Again, just a little convenience. We saw quite a few users, trying to click and instead of using the keyboard shortcut, so we added that little feature. But we're missing an angle here. And that's okay because we have created this feature to be able to handle that. And how we do that is we create padding movies. So let's go into the round number 8, and I'm going to grab another one of Isaac's. So I select the clip and I archive by just dragging onto the icon there in the files list, our timeline, and that gets appended. Let's zoom that in, and you'll see that that is now appended. Now what happens here is, let's do some arrangement here. Every time you do an archive, the arrangement for the timeline can get a little bit funky, so just be aware because we don't really know how you want to arrange those as you're importing multiple angles. So, but you can see here, number 3, which was non-existent, has now been filled in with what we call a padding or a blank movie. And that allows you to create consistency across the archive. So that's a very cool little feature. Now, if you want to customize this, you can jump in and do that in the preferences. So I go Macintosh HD, Users, Shared, Angles, Preferences, and there's a folder in there called Empty Angle Image. And here, this is the image that is being used. It's called emptyangleimage.png. Here's the original right here, which is probably what yours looks like. If you create a 1920 by 1080 PNG file, you can replace that, drop that in there, and that will be the template that's used to create your padding or blank movies. So here I've created one for Southampton in a previous demo. And that is the one that will be filled in. So you can kind of customize that and give it your own look and feel. So very, very cool. Now, let's show one other little cool thing that this can do is you can also prepend clips. So you can work backward, meaning the most recent to the most historical. So I can take a clip and insert it at the beginning of an archive. So let's go and grab, I'm going to use a different color here. I know it's not going to be the same Isaac Heaney, but you'll get the point. So I hold Command and then I drag and drop into the archive. And that will prepend onto the archive here. So that gets updated, and now that clip has been inserted into the collection at the beginning. So you can literally work your way backward from most recent to historical. So as you're traveling, say, through a season, you can start with match 1, drag in a clip, hold Command, go when you go to match 2, and that will then go 2-1. Then you go to match 3, you hold Command, drag that in there, and now you'll have 3-2-1. So you're going to work backward in the importing or exporting of the clips into the collection. You don't have to have the collection open, or the archive open. You can close that and drag and drop in there. One handy thing that you can do is you can have the archive open in the same view or in the same super tab. So I'm going to split this to the right, and I'm going to split this to the right, and we're going to open up our archive like this. And there we go. So now we can take clips. So let's grab these stoppages just for instance, and let's go archive, and I can drag straight from the archive into the other timeline, or into my archiving timeline. So you drag and drop, and so you can chuck clips in the same view by just dragging from that archive link into the body of the timeline that you want as the target for the archive. And this one will take a little bit, and as that's adding to it, you can see you get that nice blinking telling you that there's something going on. Now the fun thing is I can select another clip. Let's choose just a different kick-in. Kick-ins are going to be quite a few. Let's go kick-ins to goal. Let's see if there's any clips in there first. I've got one clip, so that'll work. Now if I archive that, while that other one is going, you can queue them up. So you can continue to work and continue to add to the archive. Let's find something that doesn't have too many clips. And I just go archive. Oh gosh, it's going so fast that I'm having a hard time catching it up. Let's go this one. We'll do 10. Bang. And that will just keep working in the background. Everything is background threaded, so it's not going to cause you any pain in terms of interrupting other work that you might want to be doing at the same time. Now, another little feature that we added underneath the timeline is the duplicate timeline and collection. So I'm going to quickly click on that, and that will copy the collection and the timeline quickly, which allows you to rename it and then do it, reuse that for something. It's just really a convenience feature. It's used when you want to optimize space, if you want to keep the original and then quickly, work with the clips, get rid of some things, and then optimize. So quite just a little convenience feature. The last feature that I want to cover off is the new jumping shortcuts. So we've added the ability to set the playhead to jump a certain amount when the slash key is pressed, or when the bracket key, the right square bracket key, is pressed. These are by default. However, you can customize them. So I have customized those to left square bracket and right square bracket. but by default, those will be slash. So I want to show you where that is. We're going to dive in pretty deep here. Again, going into our preferences, and someday we'll make these preferences a little bit easier to use as we're trying to push through new features. Sometimes the convenience of them, we decide we'll get to that at a later date, but there's a ton of preferences and angles. Now, this new preference is called keyboard controls, and we drag that using text edit. One thing about text edit, remember in your preferences is to go plain, make sure it's plain text, and then open and save. You do not want any of these ticked. So you just want that those all that unticked, because you don't want to resave it as an RTF file or something strange. So here's that preference. It's the arrow key quick tap movie jump seconds, and I have that set for 3 seconds. And then we have our jump backward key number, which is 33. I think yours will be 40, which is the slash, the question mark. I have mine set up for the left square bracket, and then it will jump forward with the right square bracket. So this allows you to set up a keyboard shortcut specifically to move the playhead along a certain amount of seconds, which is kind of a handy little feature to have. Very similar to VLC. Well, those are all of the features that I wanted to share with you in Build 5.10. Again, we're super excited about it, and we hope you enjoy the new features. Thank you.